My mom worried I was losing my mind. My father refused to let me speak about it. Every time I taught someone that Jesus was just a prophet, every time I dismissed the Bible, all of it was laid out before me. The weight of my mistakes was crushing. And then I saw him, Jesus, not as just a prophet, but as God himself. His presence filled me with love so overwhelming that it brought me to tears. The lies I'd believed about him faded away. I saw the truth about the Trinity, a mystery that made sense now. Story. Imagine a 15-year-old girl, devout and certain about her beliefs, who thought she knew the truth about life, God, and the afterlife. Until one fateful morning changed everything. Her story begins with an ordinary day, but ends with a revelation that would forever alter her life, and the lives of those around her. This is the story of Zena, a high school sophomore who thought she had all the answers, until a near-death experience upended everything she believed. Background. My name is Zena Faruqi, and I'm 15 years old. I live with my parents and 2 younger siblings in a modest house in Lansing, Michigan. My life has been pretty typical: school, friends, and family. I spend most of my time studying, going to the mosque, or working at my weekend job. Growing up in a devout Muslim family, faith has been my anchor. I pray 5 times a day, fast during Ramadan, and keep my head covered out of respect for the teachings I was raised with. Faith was something I relied on, especially when life got complicated. My parents came here from Pakistan before I was born, and they taught me to keep our traditions and values alive here in America. The morning. On a morning like any other, I was up early, getting ready for school, rushing around the kitchen, helping my mom make breakfast for my little brother and sister. The news was playing in the background, warning of a snowstorm later that week. I was already thinking about my to-do list, finishing homework, helping my mom with groceries after school, studying for my biology test. But there was one thing I didn't know. Our carbon monoxide detector had been dead for weeks, and no one had noticed. Dizziness. I started to feel a bit dizzy while packing my lunch, but thought I was just tired. My little sister complained of a headache and wanted to stay home. My dad had already left for work, and my mom looked stressed, urging me to hurry up so we wouldn't be late. The dizziness got worse as I loaded the dishwasher. My vision started to blur around the edges. I remember reaching for my phone, feeling this strange weakness in my hands. The last thing I saw was my mom's concerned face, as everything faded to black. Unconscious, I later learned that my sister, even though she felt sick too, had managed to call 911. The firefighters arrived fast and found our house filled with carbon monoxide. They pulled us out just in time. Me, unconscious. My sister, barely able to stand. My brother, passed out upstairs. The paramedics told my mom that I'd been without a heartbeat for almost 5 minutes. For those minutes, I was clinically dead. Beyond. But in those moments, I felt like I was experiencing something beyond anything I'd ever imagined. When I think back on it, my whole life seemed like it was leading up to that moment. Years of praying, following the rules, and trying my best to be a good person. All of it felt like preparation for what was about to happen. The doctors called my survival a miracle. My family was lucky to survive at all, but I know now that it wasn't just luck. What I experienced next would change everything I thought I knew about life, death, and what comes after. Everything changed. I had always defined myself by how well I followed the teachings I'd been raised with. Was I praying enough? Was I respectful enough? Did I represent my faith well to others? My parents taught me these values, and our family's life revolved around them. Even my close friends were from my mosque, people I'd grown up with, people who shared our beliefs. We all learned to keep our values strong, to avoid things that could lead us away from the faith. But that morning was the last time I would see life that way. The moment my heart stopped, everything changed. Out of body, it didn't feel like what I expected. There was no tunnel of light, no warm welcome. Instead, it was as if I'd been dropped into icy water, something so cold it seemed to freeze my soul. I felt myself hovering above my body, looking down at the paramedics working frantically. I could see my own face, pale and lifeless, and my mom's tear-streaked face nearby. But I didn't feel scared. It was as if I was watching a movie about someone else. I noticed tiny details I would have never seen otherwise, like the coffee stain on the paramedic's sleeve. And then, everything went dark. The presence. It wasn't like closing your eyes. It was a darkness that felt heavy, almost alive. I felt myself moving, pulled by something unseen. And then I was no longer alone. There was a presence next to me, beautiful and terrifying all at once. It wasn't an angel with wings like in the pictures I'd seen. It was powerful, ancient, something that made my whole soul feel small. This being didn't speak, but images and thoughts filled my mind. Life review. Suddenly, my life began playing out before me. Not just the things I'd done, but the impact of every choice I'd made. I saw how my actions had affected others, even in ways I never knew. I saw moments when I judged someone harshly, how that made them feel, and times I'd shown kindness, how that kindness had rippled through someone's life. But the most shocking part was seeing how my dedication to faith had influenced others. I thought I'd been helping people get closer to the truth. But the angels showed me that sometimes my influence had pushed them further away. There was no place for excuses. Revelation. Then I began to see more than just my life. I saw scenes from history, truths about the Prophet Muhammad I had never learned before. The past felt like a mystery revealed, one piece at a time. I could feel my understanding shifting, things I thought I knew falling away. The darkness around us began to change. I noticed countless other souls moving through it, each with a purpose. Some were drawn upward toward a light I hadn't noticed before. Others drifted downward, dimming as they fell. It was like each person's destination was shaped by how they had lived and what they had believed. The angel's message. I saw people of every faith, Muslims, Buddhists, Hindus, and those who didn't believe in anything, all discovering that their sincere beliefs weren't enough on their own. Some souls realized too late that they'd been wrong. I watched them calling out to Allah and to other deities, but finding no response. I felt the angel's message. There was only one path to reach the light above, a truth that could save someone from being pulled into the darkness. The judgment. I saw a courtroom of light. Souls appeared before a judge, one whose presence was so bright and holy, I couldn't look directly at it. Each soul's life was examined, not just by what they'd done, but by what they'd chosen to believe. Then it was my turn. Every time I'd recited the Shahada, every time I taught someone that Jesus was just a prophet, every time I dismissed the Bible, all of it was laid out before me. The weight of my mistakes was crushing. Jesus appears. But I wasn't condemned. The angel let me understand that I was being shown all this for a reason. I would be given a chance to return, but first I had more to see. We moved upward, closer to the light, and I felt the chains around me begin to dissolve. The light grew warmer, brighter, and then I saw him, Jesus, not as just a prophet, but as God himself. His presence filled me with love so overwhelming it brought me to tears. The lies I'd believed about him faded away. I saw the truth about the Trinity, a mystery that made sense now, like seeing color for the first time. The choice. The angel showed me the truth of his death and resurrection, and how his teachings had been distorted over time. I realized my faith had been built on misunderstandings. Then I was shown how people would be impacted if I chose to share this message. Finally, I was given a choice. I could stay in that place of peace, or return to the world I knew to share what I'd learned. When I saw the lives that could be touched, I knew I had to return. Back to life. Waking up in the hospital felt like being squeezed into a space too small. The bright lights hurt my eyes. My body ached. My family was there.